So we're here in Knoxville at the Revolution 3 Triathlon with Kelly Williamson, who's going to tell us a little bit about the CD01. Kelly just came in third at the Lone Star Triathlon in Galveston, riding the CD01. So Kelly, tell me about your experiences with the CD01.
I got the bike in about February, and I've had great luck with it. It fits me well. I took it out to Oceanside 70.3 in California, which was a good test. I was at the end of March, and I also train with SRM Power Meter, so I'm able to get pretty good data on what I'm actually, not just speed, but kind of the power I'm producing on the bike. And so what was really interesting about that race was that for someone who's, of all three disciplines, the bike is the weakness. For me, I was able to post a really strong bike split and also a power average of about approximately 15 watts higher than I've ever posted for a half Ironman. So yeah, you can attribute some of that to training, but I definitely think that the fit of the bike and the way I'm able to produce the power on the bike, everything kind of just has been working really, really well with it. So very, very pleased with the bike so far.
Okay. Well, one of the benefits of carbon is in the design phase, the designers have a lot more options to make the bike aerodynamic, and that's certainly what the point of this is. The CD01 stands for the coefficient of drag, and that's what the coefficient of drag is, 0.1. How has your experience been in the wind with this bike?
Yeah, I had a good, as you mentioned a minute ago, Mike, opportunity to ride it in the wind in Galveston. It was a Lone Star 70.3, and there was actually almost hurricane force winds come through Friday night. We raced Sunday morning, so there were still some always pretty strong winds down there, and I was able to I handled the bike very, very well. I felt very controlled on it. I didn't feel like I was getting whipped around too much, and I was also again able to post a really solid bike time. Not only going out where we had more of a headwind, we came back in, we had more of a tailwind, but we were dealing with some crosswinds the whole time, and I just never felt panicked or out of control or like I was being tossed around by the bike more than I was able to produce the power on it. So again, it worked very, very well, not only on a hard hilly course, but also on a very, very flat and a very windy course as well.
That's great. So. My experience in riding this, now I live in a pretty hilly area, and I was really surprised at climbing at how stiff the frame was. Mm-hmm. I have been told, led to believe that carbon can be not quite as stiff. I was climbing and not experiencing any of the flexing that I had been led to believe I could expect. How have you experienced climbing on it?
Yeah, similar. It just feels very responsive. It feels like you said, like the power I'm producing is going to the cranks, to me producing power going up the hill rather than losing any of it in any flex. And so, it just has felt from the get-go, I got a pretty good fit on it, which I think is important too. Once you get a new bike, make sure you get it dialed in with a good fitter, but just feels very responsive to, like you said, climbing. Feels it's light, it feels responsive, and I've never had any issues with trying to handle it, or not feeling like I'm able to handle the bike in any way. So again, it's just proved to be in the few months I've had it, very really, really solid bike. So extremely pleased with it.
Okay. Now I want to ask about your racing season coming up. I know last year you went to go to your first iron distance race and you got sick, and it must have been an incredible disappointment, particularly after all the training that you put in. When are you going to be going back to the iron distance, or are you going to? Yeah,
I am. I've been doing this stuff for a really long time. Started back in 2002 with ITU stuff, and then phased out of that in about 2005, 2006 to longer stuff. So it took me, this is important. I think there's nothing wrong with waiting a long time to do an Ironman. I'll kind of stress that, because I think people jump into it real quick. So as a professional, it's taken me about 8 years to wrap my head around it. But I'm going to do Coeur d'Alene, so that's going to be in, 6 or 8 weeks, June 27th. So I'm going to go back to attempt my still official first one. So go to Coeur d'Alene and see how that goes, and that'll kind of determine the rest of the season from there. But right now, that's the focus.
Great. Are you feeling good for it?
I am. I'm excited. It's still a bit daunting, even if you race as a professional, but it's still But that's the excitement of it, is it's the unknown. And so I've done a couple marathons, so I know I can run the distance, but doing the distance off of a 112-mile bike is going to be a challenge. But I'll prepare as best I can and go in there and hope for the best. So
now, comparing the training for an Ironman rather than the ITU distances, which you've done for so long, do you find it to be more of a mental challenge or a physical challenge?
Definitely both, because with the long stuff, physically it's tough because it's a lot more wearing on your body. It's a lot more recovery. 100-mile ride is going to take you. You'll feel that a few days later still. Mentally, it's tough because it's nice to get off your bike after 3 hours of a training ride, and so you have to wrap your head around quite a few 5-6 hour bike rides. So I'd say it's almost equally mentally and physically challenging. But give yourself adequate time to train and prepare, and I think it's but I do recommend creeping up. I think it's smart to do a couple halves and then maybe jump up to that full. I mean, like I said, I've done 4 years of halves, 3 years of halves before I even comprehended doing a full. So there's nothing wrong with taking your time in that build. It's a big race.
See, so I haven't been a coward by not doing an iron distance race. I've been smart.
You've been smart.
All right, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Colleen. Good
thank
luck
you.
in Coeur d'Alene.
Thank you so much.